Hey third graders, welcome to Module 3, Lesson 12. Now, this is pretty cool because lessons 12, 13, and 14 all are talking about strategies on how to solve your 9 times facts. Nines are super fun, especially for those of us who love to play with numbers and math, because there's so many different strategies that you can use to find your nines by using all of the different things about multiplication that we've been learning so far. So today for lesson 12, we're going to be using the distributive strategy, the distributive property strategy, and then also the 9 equals 10 minus 1 strategy to figure out our nines problems. Let's go ahead and get started. Let's start with our distributive property strategy first for solving our nines. Now, when we're doing our nines, something pretty tricky is when we get up to our 6 times 9, 7 times 9, 8 times 9, 9 times 9. Even if I use the commutative property where I flip it around so that it's 9 times 6, it's still hard for me to figure that out, especially if I don't know how to count by my 6s or my 9s. So the distributive property helps with that by using the problems that you already know. So that's when we take our groups and we break them apart. So on your notes, I want you guys to go ahead and draw the 6 times 9 equals. And on your blocks, it's a sideways tape diagram. On your blocks here, like what we did in class when we put the blocks together, I want you guys to write 9. So each has a value of 9. And then I want you to shade in 5 of the 9 from the bottom. Shading means to lightly color. You're not pressing down super hard. In 3rd grade, you should be able to control your pencil and apply either hard pressure or soft pressure when you need to. So you're doing soft pressure for shading. All right, go ahead and copy that down, press pause and press play when you're done and ready to start. Okay, so we've got our distributive property. So you probably are already thinking to yourself, oh, this looks so familiar, because I see here that I have 1 9 and 5 9. So I broke my 6 times 9 up into 2 pieces. So here, how would we write a multiplication equation for this right here? We would write it 5 times 9. How would we write an equation for this right here? Go ahead and write it. It would be 1 times 9. If I was going too fast for you, go ahead and press pause and press play to fill those out. We're going to write them down like how Engage New York does it, so that when you see it in class on a worksheet or a quiz, you're like not so confused by it. So I want you to write this first one down with me. So we just figured out that 6 times 9 equals 5 9s plus 1. So we did 5 plus 1, and then we did 5 plus 1 9s. So go ahead and write this down, and I want you to think to yourself, why is the 5 plus 1 in parentheses? So our parentheses show that we have 5 groups of 9 and 1 group of 9. And then by doing times 9, we say that all of these numbers in here are actually groups of 9. So 5 groups of 9, 1 group of 9. On our next step, we're going to put equals, and then we're going to stretch them out into our 2 equations. So we have 5 times 9, which would be this chunk here, plus 1 times 9, this chunk here. And we're going to write equations, or I'm sorry, oh my gosh, we're going to write parentheses around the 2 chunks of the block that we want to keep together so that we remember what we're going to solve first in our equation. So we have 2 parentheses to solve here. And when I put my equal, so we're going to solve all the parentheses first. So 5 times 9 is 45. Okay, and then we're going to add our 9. Sorry if I did the 45 before you could think about it. I think right now we're concentrating on writing the steps. So now I'll let you solve this part. What's 45 plus 9? 45 plus 9 is 54. So this is a big fancy way of saying that if you start with your 5 times 9 and you add one more 9, that would get you 6 times 9, which would equal 54. All right, let's go ahead and try another one. On your paper, I want you to go ahead and draw a representation this time, and I'm going to draw a line here so that I don't get my stuff mixed up. And I want you to draw 7 9s stacked up and shade in 5 of them again. Go ahead and do that right now, and I'll do it at the same time. All right, your paper should look like this. Something that I realize third graders get confused about is this part right here. Like, why didn't we write anything over here? Well, each time that we move down a line, we're solving one more part of our problem. So it's just assumed that because we're just taking this and we're changing it each time and solving a little bit more of it until we get the answer, it's assumed that all of these are 6 times 9. We just assume that we know that for math. But if that is confusing to you, each time that we rewrite this, we could keep writing our 6 times 9. So we're actually going to do that on this one, just so you kind of get that idea. This is algebra stuff, you guys. When I was a kid, we didn't learn this until, I think, junior high. So hang in there. You guys are doing really well. All right, so 7 times 9 equals. So our first step is to show how many groups we chunked our 7 times 9 into. So what did we do this time, you guys? Go ahead and write that first part right there. Press pause and press play. There's an example right here if you need it. Okay, so I see that we chunked our 7 times 9 up into 5 groups plus 2 groups times 9, because we have 5 groups of 9 plus 2 groups of 9. Okay, so now let's look at our second step here. So this step, we extended them out into their 2 multiplication equations. So here, let's go ahead and write our next row. Let's practice it by doing 7 times 9, because nothing is changing here. I want you guys to write that again, and then do your second step here. Press pause and press play when you're done. Okay, you should have done 5 times 9 plus 2 times 9. All right, our next step is to solve our parentheses. So you're going to solve these 2 and write it on the line underneath. Go ahead and press pause and press play. All right, so nothing has changed over here. We haven't done anything with this side of the equation. So we're going to do 5 times 9. We already know that from our previous problem is 45. Plus 2 times 9 is 18. Now you guys are ready to solve for realsies. Go ahead and do that. Press pause and press play. All right, our final answer for 7 times 9 equals 63. How did you guys do? Let's try another one. This time solve 8 times 9 using the distributive strategy. Press pause and press play when you're done. If you're looking at this going, oh my gosh, what do I do? Lucky you, you already have 2 examples that you wrote down about how to do this with the distributive property. So look back at those examples. Do that, press pause and press play. Does your answer look like this? All right, you should have done 8 times 9 equals 5 groups of 9 plus 3 groups of 9 times 9 to show how many is in each group. So then we extended them out. So we had our 5 times 9 plus 3 times 9. And that equals 45 plus 27, which finally equals 72. How did you guys do? All right, for our next strategy, we're going to be doing the 9 equals 10 minus 1 strategy. I want you guys to actually start with something peculiar. I want you to do your 10 times on your homework right now. So go ahead and write them out and press pause, press play when you're done. Okay, the big reveal. You should have gotten 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. My favorite part about math is finding the patterns in things. So you should have probably found the pattern that we're counting by tens. But then also, what do you notice? What's another pattern that you see? Oh my gosh, you guys, I hope that you noticed that anything that you times by 10 is that number, and then you add a 0. So 10 times 1 is 1 with the 0. 10 times 2 is 2 with a 0. 10 times 3 is 3 with a 0. And that's true all the way down. Look at that. 4, 4, 5, 5, 6, 6, 7, 7, 8, 8, 9, 9. Even on 10, look at, there's our 10, and then we added a 0. So you should notice that pattern to help you with this next strategy. On our 9 equals 10 minus 1 strategy, we're going to think about our 10 times fact to help us get to our 9 times fact. So if I wanted to find out what 9 times 6 was, I already know 10 times 6 really easily. That's super fast, 60, because I know 1 times 6 is 6, add my 0. So that's 60. So to get from 60 to 9 times 6, I just need to subtract one of my groups of 6s. So since I'm counting by 6s right now, I'm going to subtract 6 and I'll get to my 9 times 6. Let's go ahead and draw that out on your notes. So on your notes, go ahead and write this part that I've already done so far. Some of you might already know the answer, but we still need to model it. So I want you guys also to draw 10 groups of 6 because that will help you see it better. So 10 6s. Go ahead and do that while I do it. Press pause and press play if I go too fast. Okay, so I've got my 10 groups of 6, which equals 60. So now I have 10 6s, and I'm going to take away 1 6 to get to 9 6s. So that's pretty much what you're doing. So you had 10 6s, you take one of them away, you have 9 6s, and that gets you to 9 times 6. So 60 take away 6. If you haven't figured it out already, do it right now. I'm about to write it down. 54. All right, let's try another one. Let's do 9 times 7. All right, write that down. So if you want to get to 9 times 7, think of our next 7. So think of 10 times 7. Go ahead and solve it. Press pause and press play when you're done. All right, here's what you should have done. You should have thought 10 times 7 is 70 because 1 times 7 is 7, add our 0. Or you could have counted by 10 7 times. Now we have 10 7s. So we're just going to take away one of our 7s, and then that will get us to 9 times 7, which should have gotten you to 63. All right, let's do another one. Let's do 9 times 8. What are we counting by now? We're counting by 8s. So let's do 10 times 8. To help us figure out 9 times 8. Go ahead and do that right now. Press pause and press play when you're done. All right, you should have seen that 10 times 8 is 80. And then since we're counting by 8s, this time we're just going to subtract 8 to get backwards to our 9 times 8. So you should have gotten 72. Okay, we're ready for our final problem. I want you to solve 9 times 9 using the distributive strategy that we used today, and then doing the 10 minus 1 equals 9 strategy that we used today, or I called it the 9 equals 10 minus 1 before. So you're going to solve it both ways. You should get the answer the same for both if you're doing them right. And if you forgot what the distributive strategy is, oh my gosh, you guys, go back in the video or go back in your notes. If you're taking nice, neat, organized notes, it should be really easy for you to look back to see how you were doing it. Same for this one. Go back in the video or go back in your notes. All right, go ahead and do that. We will see you guys tomorrow, and I can't wait to teach you more strategies about figuring out your 9s. Have a great night.